In the sacred halls of ancient Egypt, where the initiate embarks on a spiritual journey that will span lifetimes. As the golden gates of the temple close behind him, the initiate steps into the embrace of timeless knowledge, leaving behind the mundane world to align with the divine. The trials of the elements test his physical and spiritual resolve, forcing him to confront the daily duality within himself. Initiate delves deeper into the mysteries of the cosmos, his movements and thoughts aligning with the sacred rhythms of the universe. He heals the sick and learns to interpret celestial signs. Visions of the future begin to intrude. He sees not only the suffering of his people, but also the fragmented paths his soul will take across lifetimes. Each lesson in the temple etches itself onto his soul, preparing him for a destiny that reaches far beyond the sands of Egypt. With the Ankh staff in hand and blessings from the priest, the initiate steps into the vast desert, a lone figure venturing towards the unknown. The golden sands stretch endlessly before him, shimmering under the blazing sun as if reflecting the boundless possibilities of his journey. His path becomes one of service and sacrifice, bringing light to the villagers and shielding them from harm, whether through his healing hands or his unwavering courage in the face of threats. Yet, as he builds sacred shrines and restores balance to their lives, he feels a deeper, unseen force pulling his spirit, something greater than his immediate mission. The lessons he imparts, the lives he transforms, and the loves he fosters anchors his soul in gratitude. Still, he knows his destiny transcends this moment as the villagers bow in reverence, their faces glowing with hope. The initiate gazes at the distant horizon, sensing that this life is but a single, luminous thread in an eternal tapestry yet to fully unfold. The spiritual world glows with shifting light and whispers of ancestral chants. A shimmering soul approaches a council of ancestors in radiant robes. Their warm eyes beckon the soul forward. The soul begins to take shape, hesitating under the weight of its purpose. The soul steps to the glowing map of Earth. Each region pulsing with potential destinies, it feels drawn to a specific location, where the scenes of childhood, trials, and growth flash around it. The council blesses the soul with golden light flowing into its essence. The eldest ancestor seals the choice with a touch, promising guidance through the trials ahead. The council parts as a radiant guide approaches, blending celestial and human traits. They connect with the soul, sharing words of support and insight. Together they glimpse the soul's mission, a life of service and resilience. The soul descends in a dark, warm space, the womb, merging with the forming child, glowing softly. The guide's voice reassures it of its purpose. From a child's perspective, a faint light flickers as the connection to the spiritual realm lingers. His essence travels through a luminous tunnel, images of his past lives as a ruler, healer, and warrior flashing by. The tunnel narrows and the cries of a bustling city grow louder. In a modest hospital room, a baby is born. The golden glow of Egypt flickers in the newborn's eyes, only to fade as the city replaces the scenery. As a boy, he navigates the cracked streets of his neighborhood. The murals of African kings stir faint memories, but he can't grasp their meaning. He stands at a crossroads, torn between the struggles of his environment and the pull of something greater. With his crew, he pauses at a mural reading From Kings to Survivors. In the heart of a broken neighborhood, a young man walks the streets, his worn sneakers and slouched shoulders telling the story of hardship, cracked sidewalks and graffiti-covered walls. It paints a picture of despair and in a spark within himself that he doesn't yet understand. His path home is filled with tension, the violence of his environment closing in like a storm. Yet a moment of calm arrives as an older man approaches, offering him a book about kings and kingdoms. The man's presence, like a lighthouse in a dark sea, begins to shift the young man's focus. Curiosity grows as the boy flips through the pages of his imagination. That night, under a dim light of his room, he decides he will change. He studies and searches and questions as though answering a call only he can hear. In a quiet park, the young man finds solace in the pages of his new book. The same older man reappears, extending his hand and introducing himself as a historian. Skepticism melts into curiosity as the man invites him to a lecture. The lecture hall is small, but brims with energy. Images of the great Sphinx and tales of ancient African empires ignite a fire in the young man's heart. After the lecture, he and the historian pore over maps and artifacts, connecting the dots of a history that feels like it belongs to him. With each book, each conversation, the young man begins to see himself not as a product of his environment, but as a descendant of greatness. He is encouraged to document his reflections in a journal, a mirror of his growing understanding. By the end of this chapter, he submits a college application, stepping into a path that will lead him to the truth of his identity. The college campus is a new world, bustling with possibilities. Tentatively, the young man tears a flyer from a bulletin board for an African Studies Club. At his first meeting, he shares his journey with peers, their nods of encouragement affirming that he is not alone. In the library, he delves into genealogical research, tracing his roots to West Africa. As he stares at an old photograph of his father, his connection to his heritage strengthens. The campus art gallery becomes a sacred space where he stands entranced by African sculptures and textiles. The rhythms of African drumming draw him closer to the heartbeat of his ancestors. On the balcony overlooking the city, he whispers to himself, "This is where I come from." His journal becomes a testament to his growth, the doubts of his past replaced with clarity and purpose. Meditating under a tree in a quiet park, the man envisions himself in a golden desert standing before an ancient temple. The vision is vivid, hieroglyphs glow, and a figure resembling his mentor beckons him forward. He wakes with a sense of awe and determination. Seeking guidance, he visits a spiritual guide who hands him herbs and a scroll, detailing rituals to connect with his ancestral wisdom. In his lit room, he prepares an altar, lighting candles and burning herbs. Smoke fills the air as he kneels, his head bowed in prayer. His vision deepens, transporting him back to the temple where glowing hieroglyphs and a golden altar await. As he approaches, an Ankh hovers before him, radiant with energy. Tears stream down his face as a voice declares his purpose. He is a bridge between worlds, a carrier of ancient wisdom. He awakens to his truth with the Ankh. Now a man in his 40s, he stands in a community center, speaking passionately to a room of young people. His hands gesture with a conviction as he shares stories of African heritage, lighting a fire in their hearts. At a shrine built within the center, he lights incense and leads a ceremony to honor the ancestors. The shrine glows faintly, reflecting the spiritual energy. The passing a journal to a young mentee, he mirrors the gesture that once set him on his journey. The mentee opens it with curiosity as the man walks away, leaving a legacy that will endure through the next generation. At sunset, he stands alone, gazing over the thriving community he helped build. The Ankh pendant gleams in the fading light as the camera ascends, showing the cultural center alive with activity. Though the sky darkens, the center's lights shine on,